The face commander or the backup commander? Let's take a look at the Edge of Eternities precons and decide which one to go with. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort. My name is Tyler Saves Ya Bucks and Edge of Eternities is already here. I don't know how that happened so quickly. It's going at light speed. But we're going to be talking specifically today about the two commander decks coming with this release. Usually we get more, but this time around we're getting the two, and I still have a lot to say about them. Usually on this channel, when I look at the commander decks, I try to give advice on which commander you should run out of the box. Should it be the face commander or the backup commander? We're going to talk about both of these decks, and the first one being the World Shaper. You can see the commander right there now. Has a weird kind of twist. I'll talk about that in 1 second, but let's look at the face commander first. We have Hearth Hall, the World Seed. This is a 1 black, red, and a green for a spacecraft that has station. I talked about this in a video a little bit ago about that stations and vehicles that are legendary can be your commanders. And the reason for that is because of these commander decks. They wanted to be able to use this new card type as a commander and didn't want to put the text on there that said this station can be your commander or spacecraft or however they would have worded it. But in this case, this is a spacecraft. If you haven't heard of a spacecraft or what they do yet, it kind of has like super crew in the sense that you see that +2 right there. When you tap a creature with power 2 or greater, that puts 2 charge counters on it and unlocks that first ability. And then if it gets up to 8, it unlocks the other ability and gets that power and toughness and can attack and block. Let's look at the first ability here. It is 1 tap, sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. Very strong, especially if you already have a creature down right away. Put this down. I believe because it's not a creature yet, you can tap it right away and use that ability since it won't have summoning sickness. Very nice. And then when it does get to +8 charge counters on it, it's flying, vigilance, haste as a 6/7, and whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life, and it still keeps that first ability there. Very strong. This deck loves its lands and loves putting them into the graveyard, and this helps with both of those things. But let's look at the backup commander really quick. Sorel, Genesis Shepherd. This is 2 black, red, and a green for a 2/5 insect druid. Flying, you may play lands from your graveyard, and whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, put a number of 1/1 counters equal to this creature's power to another target creature. So this pays you off for the fact that those lands are going into your graveyard, that you can just play them all over again. And then the fact that when you sacrifice a non-token permanent, you're going to be able to put counters onto your board. And it's very nice. It's an insect in these colors. Might be good as a leader for an insect deck as well. But when it comes to this deck and like looking through the list and everything, there's a lot of cards in the deck that really want you to have lands in your graveyard or put lands into your graveyard. And as cool as this backup commander is, it doesn't do that thing. It doesn't put the lands into the graveyard. It pays you off when you sacrifice lands, and then you can play them from the graveyard. But when it comes to the Hearth Hall, the World Seed, the station, this does give you that engine. It lets you sacrifice the land, put it into your graveyard, then you draw a card, you can play an additional land, and then it kind of gives you an end game mode there. When you sacrifice lands, each opponent loses 2 life. All of a sudden you start bringing the life totals down as you're doing the deck's main goal. In my opinion, if you are going to buy this deck and want to run one of them as the commander, I would say run this spacecraft as the commander. Because like I said, you want to be able to feed into what the rest of the deck is doing out of the box. A lot of the cards in here want the lands to be going into the graveyard. Even the backup commander, let's look at it again. The backup commander wants you to put lands in the graveyard so you can play them right back out, but it doesn't get them there. So that would be my suggestion, is to run the spacecraft over running the insect. But here's the twist that I talked about. So usually when it comes to commander precons, they tend not to put legendary creatures in the precons that are the same colors as the face and backup commander. I think in a way to not confuse people when they buy the deck of who should I run out of the box, they kind of want you to pick one of those two. But in this deck, we not only have one Jund legendary, we have two Jund legendaries. Let's take a look at Korvold Faker's King. Yes, this is in the deck. If you don't know too much about Korvold, play some commander for a little bit of time and you'll get to know him pretty well. It's an incredibly strong commander, and it leads to a lot of games that kind of durdle and, spin the wheels because you sack permanents, draw cards, gives you more options that you can then do and sack more permanents, draw more cards. It's this crazy commander, and it just happens to be in the 99 of this precon. So as much as I would say, hey, this is a strong legendary, you could just put this at the head, I do think it is geared more towards the Hearth Hall. That's really hard for me to say, guys. The station, I'll say that. It's a little bit more geared towards the station, and it's very thematic. There's a lot of cool art from this set, and that station and even the backup commander really are thematic for it. So try not to be tempted by Korvold, or Soul of Windgrace is also in this deck. Very strong card, has a lot of ways to get lands into your graveyard and get them back out of the graveyard. It's tempting to run Soul of Windgrace as the commander as well. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing because, like I said, usually they don't put commanders that are the same colors, but we have one and two. So let me know in the comments what you would do for this deck. Would you run the Zerel, or would you run the Hearth Hall? And can you say those things better than I can? Because my speech impediment is going crazy with those two. Maybe I'll have better luck with the next deck. Let's talk about that. Counterintelligence is helmed by In-Spirit Flagship Vessel. This is a blue, red, and a white for a spacecraft. It has station, like we talked about. The first ability is unlocked with just one power. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a 1/1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to one other target artifact. And then when it gets to 8, it is a 5/5 flyer that says other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. Very strong right there. And charge counters are back, especially when it comes to all the spacecraft. But in this deck, it's filled with a lot of things that have charge counters. Let's look at the backup commander, Kilo Apagi Mind. It is also just a blue, red, and a white for a 3/3 with haste. Robot Artificer, whenever it becomes tapped, proliferate. Proliferating is incredibly strong in pretty much any deck that has any types of counters. Something that proliferates is going to be powerful, and this is not the biggest hoop to jump through just to tap and proliferate. Now, I will say this one is a little bit more of a head scratcher for me. I'll even scratch my head while I say it, just because of the fact that when you look over the deck list, and they're all up online, I'll even link to them here in the video, there are a lot of creatures with 1/1 counters. There is a lot of ways to get proliferation. It's a lot of artifact synergies. There's a lot of charge counters. It kind of feels a little like a hodgepodge of things, which is what makes me lean a little bit more to the station here. The fact that you can put the counters on stuff that want counters, or the charge counters on stuff that wants charge counters. That's pretty strong, especially to get to that ability at only +1. And then in the late game, a lot of artifact decks are very strong, but they are brittle to a very played card that's not that expensive, which is Vandal Blast, that can just ruin an artifact player's day. If you overload it, destroy all artifacts you don't control. And a deck like this, where so many of the cards in this are artifacts, I was even looking at this before, just under artifacts, there's 19 cards, and that's not even counting all of the other creatures and permanents that are artifacts. Same it goes for the mana base. They do have the indestructible artifact lands, but also the not indestructible mono tapping lands are in this one. And that's a little concerning too, because Vandal Blast or anything else that Brother's Hood End or something like that, there's a lot of cards that just destroy artifacts incidentally, and that can just kick you out of the game completely. So as cool as I think Kilo is, here, let's talk about Kilo for a second. I think if you wanted to take this deck in a tapping, untapping route, putting more vehicles in here, this is an incredible commander for that, and it's in great colors. My vehicle deck around Kaikar in these colors, very good for vehicles. And then proliferation, anything that is in these colors that puts a lot of counters on stuff. Heck, this could even be good for a Saga deck. Like, this is such an interesting commander that you can run. But for this deck out of the box, I am going to say go for the face commander. Again, I know it's not the most flashy or clickbaity thing, but that's not what I'm trying to do with these videos. I'm trying to give my honest opinion, and both of the face commanders in this instance, I am going to say you should run with. But yeah, getting back to this, the fact that you give all of your artifacts hexproof and indestructible in the late game, when you're already setting up and getting everything going and your engine, pun intended, is rolling in the deck, and then all of a sudden you just give your entire board all of this protection from whatever people can do. It's very strong. Now, Station you have to do at sorcery speed. They learned their lesson with Crew. The fact that instant speed for Crew is a little powerful. But when it goes to your turn and you deploy a couple things and get those last counters onto your commander, and now everything is just protected except for your commander, but everything is protected. That is a very logical thing that you can do. Get your engine rolling and then protect basically all of it. Maybe hold up a little bit of protection for your commander so you keep your board protected. I do think this is very strong, and it's only 3 mana for all of those abilities. But let me know, like I said with the last deck, let me know if you would run In Spirit or Kilo. I did have a easier time saying both of those names, but let me know if you would have a preference to one or the other. Yeah, both of these decks are really cool, honestly. You should go and pick one up, whichever one strikes your fancy more. And before I go today, just a little bit of news for the channel, for myself personally. I'm going to start making a lot of content. Over the last several months, I've made it a point to make a video every single week, no matter what was going on in my life, and I have been doing that, and because of that, I've gotten a lot of great success thanks to you. But I want to keep the channel going and growing more and more, and I want to be transparent right now that I want to double the output, then triple the output, and quadruple the output. Putting out a video once a week has been amazing, but I want to do it twice a week, then 3 times a week, 4 times a week. That's including shorts. I just did a short that you can watch that is has to do from a clip from a video I did last week. So I'm going to do more of those just to give you, the viewer, and other people who are finding the channel some bite-sized info that they don't have to watch an entire long video for. And I want to do that more and more. And then more sketches like you saw where me and my friend Logan, I had to tell him all of the Universes Beyond stuff that's been going on. So I want to do more and more of that, but I need your help to continue doing that. And all you have to do are the things that I try not to bring up in many videos, but I'm bringing up right here. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, share the videos. All of those things really, really, really do help. And if you enjoy this content and find it useful and I've saved you some bucks, just send it to somebody else. Watch another one of my videos. It really, really does help because I want to create a community that can make the game even more accessible to players who can't afford everything or have a very busy life and don't have enough time to build all of the decks they want to build. I want to make the fort a place where people can come and feel comfortable engaging in the game, and I need the help from everybody watching this to continue to make that happen. So I hope to see you guys a lot more times right here in the fort. Goodbye.